Hello everybody. So welcome back to PW International Boards. I am your mathematics mentor and in today's session we are going to cover one very important topic of Cambridge IGCSE for the paper code 0580. The topic that we are going to learn in this session is money, finance and time, which is a part of your unit 1 chapter, that is number. So understanding that what all things we are going to learn in this session comprises of the currency conversions, earnings, profit and loss, the percentage profit and loss. Later on we'll be learning about the interest, which is simple, as well as the compound interest, followed by the topic of time. So let's just understand the first topic, that is currency conversions. So here if I talk about, you can see a table here that shows the exchange rates for 1 euros into the various currencies. So these are the currencies, the conversions that we are going to use here. Moving forward, let's just have some questions here which says that we need to convert 25 euros into Australian dollars. So firstly, we are going to refer to the table here and observe that here that 1 euro is equal to 1.50 Australian dollars. So in order to do this conversion, what we are going to do is we are going to multiply 25 with 1.50 in order to get this conversion, in order to get this currency in Australian dollars. So let's use the calculator in order to do this calculation, and here we are getting this as 37.5 Australian dollars. Is that clear? Moving to the second subpart here, where we need to convert 50 euros to rupee dollars to rupees here. So here if I talk about, let's refer to the table again, and here if we'll observe, we can see this thing that 1 euro is equal to 75 rupees. So in order to do this conversion, we will be doing 50 multiplied with 75, and here after doing the calculation, we are getting this as 3750 rupees. Okay. Further, if I talk about the third one, which says we need to convert 20 euros into Zimbabwean dollars. So let's check the conversion table here. So that is equal to 412800, right? So we are going to do the same thing, 20 multiplied with 412800. So let's do this calculation. What are we getting here? So it is going to be equal to 8256,000. That is what we are going to get as the answer here. Moving to the D subpart, where we need to convert 300 euros into rand. So let's refer to the table again, and here what we can observe that 1 euro is equal to 15 rands. So let's do the conversion here, right? So that is going to be 300 multiplied with 15. So that is equal to 4500 rands. Is that clear? Moving to the next question here, the question says the exchange rates for 1 euro into Sri Lankan rupees is 1 euro is equal to 162 rupees. Convert 1000 Sri Lankan rupees to euros. So here if we need to do this conversion, what we will be doing, simply when it is being given here that 1 euro is equal to 162 Sri Lankan rupees. So if we need to find out the value of 1 Sri Lankan rupees, so that is going to be equal to 1 over 162 euros. And further, if we need to find out that what is 1000 Sri Lankan rupees equal to, so we will simply be doing 1000 Sri Lankan rupees is equal to 1000 over 162. So let's use the calculator in order to get this value. So we are getting this as 6.17 euros. That is what we are going to get as the answer here. Clear? Moving to the next question, which says Jamal changes 800 Chinese yuan into dollars. The exchange rate is $1 is equal to 6.24 Chinese yuan. Calculate the number of dollars he receives. Give your answer correct to the nearest dollar. So what we need to do here is we need to convert 800 Chinese yuan to dollars, right? So it's been given to us here that 6.24 Chinese yuan is equal to $1. Right, so if I talk about 1 Chinese yuan is going to be equal to 1 over 6.24 dollars. So if we need to convert 800 Chinese yuan, so that is going to be 1 over 6.24 multiplied with 800. So let's do the calculation here. What are we getting? So we are getting this as $128.20. And the question was saying this thing that we need to give our answer correct to the nearest dollar. So that is what we have got as our answer. Clear? Moving to the next topic that we have here is which says earnings, right? Firstly, let's just understand the different terms that we use and which are being provided to you in the questions here. So talking about the first term here that says the amount of money that someone is paid for working. If we talk about the earnings, right, whatever the amount of money that you're being paid with for working. So that is what we call as earnings. The gross income or the earnings is a total amount a person earns, right? Whatever the total amount that you are earning is known as the gross income or the gross salary. Now further, there are some deductions that happens. So here, deductions such as income tax, pension contributions and health insurance are often taken from the gross earnings before the person is paid. So whatever the gross salary or whatever the gross income that you have, there are going to be certain deductions that might include income tax, that might include provident fund, that might include the pension contributions. So that these all are deducted from the gross salary or from the gross income. Okay. Further, the amount that is left over after deductions is called the net income. So finally, whatever the amount that you are getting is known as the net income. So talking about the formula for the net pay, it goes as gross pay minus deductions. Okay. So that is a formula that we are going to use in order to find out that what is a net pay that is being received by anyone. Okay, clear? Now further, let's understand some more terms here which involves firstly the bonus. What is bonus? Bonus is an extra payment sometimes added to an employee's basic pay. Right? So you might get bonus in certain cases, right? So that is an extra payment that you are getting. After that, if we talk about the next term here, that is overtime. This refers to the additional hours worked by an employee beyond their regular working hours. If a person is working additional hours, then let's say that your regular working hours are just 8 hours, or maybe then you are working for 10 hours. So that is the overtime that you are doing, and later on you are being paid for that as well. After that, time and a half is 1.5 times the basic pay. After, if it comes as double time means twice of the basic pay. Further, if we talk about the piecework, what it is, amount of pay depends on the number of articles made rather than on the time spent making them. So at the end, what matters is the output or what you are delivering rather than that for how much time you have taken in order to deliver that. All that matters is what is the result of it. So that is what we call as a piecework. Okay. Even if you are completing that work in 1 hour or you are completing that work in 5 hours, you will be paid the same in that scenario because you will be paid for the work that you will be delivering. Clear? Now, let's have a question here. Mr. Ahmed's gross pay is 18.25. $188.25. Deductions amount to $33.43. What is his net pay? So now we need to find out that what is going to be his net pay, right? So here net pay is equal to the gross pay minus the deductions, right? So the gross pay is here is 188.25 minus the deductions are 33.43. Let's use the calculator in order to get this value. What are we getting here? So this is coming out to be $154.82. So that is his net pay here. Clear? Moving to the next question which says, Ms. Seth's basic pay is $128. He earns $36 for overtime and receives a bonus of $18. So definitely if I talk about that, whatever the amount that she is getting for overtime as well as the bonus that she is getting, it will be added to the net amount. Right, that is what is going to be credited into her account. So if I talk about the gross pay will be equal to the basic pay here, which is $128 plus the overtime that she is doing, which is $36, and the amount that she is receiving as bonus, which is $18, right? So if we talk about the answer here, what is going to be the answer? So we are getting this as $182. That is going to be her gross pay. Moving to the next question, Pep is paid $5.50 for each basket of grapes he picks. In 1 week, he picks 25 baskets. How much is he paid? So clearly it is mentioned here that for one basket, Pep is being paid $5.50. So now in 1 week, if he is picking 25 baskets, in that case, the amount paid would be 25 multiplied with 5.50. Okay, so let's do this calculation. What are we getting here? So 25 multiplied by 5.50 is 137.5. That is what we are getting as the amount that he will be paid with. Okay. Moving forward to the next question, which says Maria is paid 5 euros for every 12 plates that she picks, that she makes. This is her record for 1 week. How much is he paid? So here if I talk about, let's understand what the question is saying. Maria is paid 5 euros for every 12 plates. For every 12 plates that he is going to make, she will be paid 5 euros. This is her record for 1 week. How much is she paid? So now we need to find out that what is the total number of plates that she has made. Okay, so firstly let's just find out the total number of plates that she has made. So total number of plates made will be equal to 240 plus 360 plus 288 plus 192 plus 180. So let's do the calculation. What are we getting here? So we are getting this as 1260. So that is the total number of plates that she has made. Now it is mentioned in the question that she is paid 5 euros for every 12 plates. Right? So firstly we need to just find out, let's consider this in a way that there is a set of 12 plates. Correct? So here firstly let's just find out that how many sets has she made here, right? So number of plate sets, right? So that is going to be 1260 divided with 12. So if we talk about the total number of plate sets that she is making is 105. So if we talk about amount paid will be equal to the number of sets that she is making multiplied with the amount that she is getting for one set, which is 5 euros. So let's do the calculation. We are getting this as 525 euros. That is what we have got as the answer. Clear? Moving to the next question. Here the next question says, a girl works in a shop on Saturdays for 8.5 hours. She is paid $3.60 per hour. What is her gross pay for 4 weeks work? So here what we can observe that she is being paid $3.60 per hour, right? So and on Saturday she is working for 8.5 hours. So in 4 weeks there will be 4 Saturdays, right? And if I talk about the gross pay, so firstly let's just find out the working hours. So working hours will be 8.5 multiplied with 4, as there are 4 weeks which is mentioned here, right? Further if I talk about the gross pay is going to be equal to whatever the working hours are there multiplied with the total, the amount that she is being paid with per hour. So that is going to be 8.5 multiplied with 4 multiplied with 3.60. So if we talk about the total amount that she is going to get here, let's do the calculation. We are getting the total amount paid as $122.40. That is what we are getting as the total amount that she is being paid with. Okay. Moving to the next question, which is a previous year question from the paper of May-June 24 from the variant 1-2. A gardener charges $6.55 for each hour he works plus a fixed charge of $15.50. Calculate the total amount he charges when he works for 4 hours. So here if I talk about how the total amount will be calculated. So if we talk about the total amount will be equal to the fixed charge, right, plus the whatever the gardener is charging on the per hour basis, right, per hour charges. Correct. So if we talk about the fixed charge here, that is $15.50, plus if we talk about that what is he charging on the per hour basis is 6.55 and he is working for a total of 4 hours. So that is going to be 4 multiplied with $6.55, right? Let's do this calculation. What are we getting here? So this is coming out to be $41.70. That is what we are getting as the net amount that he is going to get. Moving to the next question, which is again a previous year question from the paper of May-June 24 from the variant 2-2. Jonah had $750. He spends 1/1/4 of his money on travel and some of the money on food. He now has $437.50. Work out the fraction of the $750 he spent on food. So we need to find out the fraction of the amount that he has spent on food. Firstly, let's just find out the amount that is spent on travel. So let's calculate this first. Let me just use some other color. So, amount spent on travel is equal to 1/4 of 750, right? So, if we just calculate that, what is the amount that he has spent on travel is $187.50. Later on, we are being provided with this information that he still have $437.50. Clearly, whatever the rest of the money which is here is being spent on food. So, if we need to find out the amount spent on food will be the total amount minus the remaining amount that he still has, which is 437.50, minus the amount that he has spent on travel. So that is what we are going to get as the amount that he has spent on food. So let's do the calculation. We are getting this as $125. So that is the amount he has spent on food. So if we need to find out the fraction of this, fraction of amount it will be equal to 125 over 750. So which we are getting it is 1/6. Clear? Moving to the next question, which is from the paper of May-June 24 from the variant 3-1. The cost of a cinema ticket is $6.30. Work out the total cost of 4 tickets, right? So if we need to find out the cost of 4 tickets, it is going to be simply 4 multiplied with 6.30. Correct? After that, if we talk about, let's do this calculation. So we are getting this as $25.20. That is the cost of 4 tickets. Now reading the second question here, the second subpart of the question, which says the cinema sells 10 tickets for the price of 9 tickets. A group of 10 people go to the cinema, work out how much each person will pay. So firstly, what is happening, that the cinema sells 10 tickets for the price of 9 tickets. Actually, what they are doing, the actual price was for 10 tickets, but they are paying only for the 9 tickets, right? The price is being charged in such a way that it is actually the price of 9 tickets, but the tickets are provided to 10 people. So if we talk about the price of 9 tickets, that is going to be 9 multiplied with 6.30, right? Let's do this calculation. So this is coming out to be $56.70. That is a price for 9 tickets, but as this price is distributed between 10 people, right? So each person pays $56.70 divided with 10. So each person is going to pay $5.67. Is that clear? Moving to the next question, which is from the paper of May-June 24 from the variant 3-1. The question here says Mr. Gibb pays $2,208 for a holiday. Mr. Shah pays €2,050 for the same holiday. The exchange rates in euros is €1 is equal to $1.15. Work out how much more in euros Mr. Shah pays for the holiday than Mr. Gibb. So we need to find out that what is the amount Mr. Gibb has paid in euros. Then only we will be able to compare them. So here we have been provided with that 1 euro is equal to $1.15, right? So if we talk about that $1 is actually equal to 1 over 1.15 euros. So if we need to find out that what is $2208 equal to, so that is equal to 2208 over 1.15, right? Let's do this calculation. What are we getting here as? We are getting this as 1920 euros. Okay. So and here if we talk about the total amount each one of them is paying, right? So Mr. Gibb is paying 1920 euros. While if I talk about Mr. Shah, he is paying 2050 euros, right? So if we talk about the difference, so that is 2050 minus 1920. So we are getting the difference as 130 euros. So that is the difference between the price here. Clear? Moving to the next question, which is again a question, again a previous year question from the paper of February-March 24 from the variant 1-1. Vani changes X euros into dollars. She then changes the dollars into 17,850 rupees. Calculate the value of X. So simply if we talk about, anyways, if we observe this thing, that the number of dollars, if we see, if we need to have a common parameter in order to equate it, right? So what we can observe here is that dollar is going to be same. Yes. So here if I talk about, in the first case, it is provided with that 1 euro is equal to $1.05, correct? So clearly if I talk about X euros will be equal to 1.05 X dollars. That is what it is going to be. Now further it is being provided that 1 rupee is equal to $0.013. So in that case, if we talk about 17850 rupees will be equal to 17850 multiplied with $0.013. That is what it is going to be. Further, if we see here, we know this thing that the same currency is getting converted. So clearly, if I talk about whatever the number of dollars that we have in both the scenario, which is 1.05 X dollars and 17850 into $0.013, it is the same value that is getting converted. So clearly, we can equate both the values here, right? So let's equate the values here, which is going to be 1.05 X will be equal to 17850 multiplied with 0.013. So let's find out the value of X. Let's do the calculation here. What are we getting as a value of X here? So here X is coming out to be 221. I hope that we have understood this question. Right now, let's move to the next question. So this question is again from a previous year question from the paper of October-November 23 from the variant 1-2. Asha works in a cafe. Her wage is calculated using the formula wage is equal to hourly rate multiplied with the number of hours plus bonus. Her hourly rate is 11.52. 1 week Asha works 25 hours and receives a bonus of $5.40. Work out her wage for this week. So if we talk about, simply we have been provided with a formula, and if we need to find out the wage here, the hourly rate is 11.52 here, right? If I talk about the number of hours for which he is working are 25 hours. So we'll multiply this by 25 and we are going to add the bonus to it, which is $5.40, right? So let's just calculate that. What are we getting here? So after doing this calculation, we are getting this as $293.4. So this is going to be her wage. Moving to the next question, which is from the paper of October-November 23 from the variant 2-1. The exchange rate between Singapore dollars and euros is 1 Singapore dollar is equal to 0.62 euros. Find out the value of 161.20 euros in Singapore dollars. So here, if I talk about, it is being provided with that 0.62 euros is equal to 1 Singapore dollar, right? So further, if I talk about 1 euro will be equal to 1 over $0.62. So if we need to find out 161.20 euros will be equal to 161.20 over $0.62, right? So let's do the calculation. We are getting this as 260 Singapore dollars. Clear? Now, moving to the next topic here, which is profit and loss. So we need to understand few terms before we go on to the questions here. So firstly, that what is a cost price? So cost price is a price the trader pays for goods. Whenever you are going somewhere, right, you are buying any item, that time whatever the price that you are paying is known as a cost price. Further, if we talk about the next term that we have here is selling price, the price at which the goods are sold. Whatever price that you are being like you are buying anything, right? In that case, whatever the price at which the goods are sold, that is known as the selling price. Then if we talk about the profit, profit is if the selling price is greater than the cost price. Taking an example here, let's say you go to the market and you bought a pair of shoes for $50, right? Later on you decided to sell them maybe for a price of $60. In that case, you can observe this thing that the selling price is greater than the cost price. So that is where we say this thing that there is a profit. So profit is nothing but selling price minus the cost price. So in order to have the profit, the selling price needs to be higher than the cost price. Clear? Moving to a question on this, a shopkeeper buys 72 bars of chocolates for $5.76. What is his profit if he sells them for 12 cents each? So if we need to find out firstly the selling price for 72 bars of chocolate, right? So that is going to be 72 multiplied with 12 cents, right? So what are we getting here as? We are getting this as 864 cents, which is $8.64. So if we need to find out the profit, profit will be equal to the selling price minus the cost price. So selling price is $8.64 while the cost price or the purchase price here is $5.76. So if we talk about the net profit after doing the calculation, we are getting it as $2.88. Clear? Moving to the next term here, which is loss. What is loss? Whenever the cost price is higher than the selling price, right? You are selling an item for a lesser price as compared to the price for which you bought that item. So that is where we say that we are having a loss. So if the selling price is lower than the cost price, there is a loss occurs, right? So if we talk about the formula for calculating loss, it goes as cost price minus the selling price. Clear? Further, at an auction, a company sells 150 television sets for an average of $65 each. The production cost was $10,000. How much loss did the company make? So here, in order to find out the loss, firstly, if we talk about the production cost here, production cost will be taken as the cost price. Okay, so here if I talk about the cost price is $10,000. And if we need to find out the selling price, that is going to be 150 multiplied with 65. So let's do this calculation. What are we getting here? So the selling price is $9,750. So in order to find out that what is the loss that occurred, so loss will be equal to the cost price minus the selling price. So that is going to be $10,000 minus $9,750, which is going to be equal to $250. So that is a loss that occurred. Clear? Moving to some more terms that we need to understand here is a discount. You must have seen whenever you go for shopping or anywhere, you must have seen the term written there as 10% discount or 20% discount or 40% discount, right? So let's understand that what is discount in mathematics and how we can use it in a real life. So a discount is actually a reduction in the price of goods or services, right? Let's say you are going for shopping, there you observe that there is a discount of 40%. That means whatever the initial price of that item was, you are being provided with the 40% discount or a 40% lesser price on that item. Okay, so what is actually happening? There is a reduction in the price of goods or service that is happening. Now, it is offered by shopkeepers at the marked price. Whatever the tag that you can see there, whatever the marked price is there, so the discount is offered on the marked price of the item. If we talk about a question here which says, in a sale, a pen usually costing $15 is sold at a 5% discount. What is the discount amount? So we need to find out that what is going to be the discount amount here, right? So if we need to find out, discount will be 5% of the total cost of the initial cost, which is $15. So let's calculate. It is 5 over 100 multiplied with 15. So if we talk about the discount that we are going to get is $0.75. So here the question can be anything. The question was simply asking you this thing, that what is the amount of discount that is being offered. But just in case the question comes in front of you where you need to find the discounted amount, okay, or the amount he needs to pay after discount. So in that case, whatever the marked price was there, you are going to subtract the discount then. Okay, clear? Moving to the next thing, which is if we need to find out that if there is any profit or a loss happening, and we need to find out that what is a percentage of profit or what is a percentage of loss that is occurring. So in that case, we are going to use the formula for finding the percentage here. So here, if we talk about the profit and loss are normally calculated as percentage of the cost price. Always keep this thing in mind that whenever we are talking about profit or loss, right, the percentage of it is always calculated on cost price. Okay, so percentage profit is equal to the actual profit over the cost price multiplied with 100. While if we talk about the percentage loss, it is actual loss over the cost price multiplied with 100. Clear? Okay, so now here if I talk about, a shopkeeper buys an article for $300 and sells it for $500. What is the percentage profit? So firstly, what we need to find out, we need to write this thing that the cost price is $300. If we talk about the selling price, it is $500. If we talk about the profit here that the shopkeeper is making, it is the selling price minus the cost price. So we can observe this thing that there is a profit of $200 that is happening, right? Further, if I talk about that, if we need to find out that what is going to be the profit percent, so profit percentage is going to be the profit, which is $200 over the cost price. So cost price here is $300 multiplied with 100, correct? So here if I talk about that, what is the profit that is happening here is going to be, let's do the calculation. We are going to get it as 66.67%. That is the profit that is happening here. You can even write this answer in fractions. That's entirely fine. You can write it as 200 over 3 as well. Understood? Moving to the next question. The question says a person buys a bus for $20,000 and sells it for $15,000. We need to find out the percentage loss. So in order to find out the loss, we know this thing that loss is nothing but the cost price minus the selling price. So the price at which he is buying the bus is $20,000 and the price at which he is selling is $15,000. So that is equal to $5,000. So that is a loss happening. Now, if we need to find out that what is the loss percentage, so that is a loss over the cost price of the item, which is $20,000 multiplied with 100. That is what the formula says. So let's calculate the value. What are we getting here? 25% loss is happening. Clear? Moving to the next question, which says a market trader buys 100 oranges for $30. She sells them for 50 cents each. Calculate the percentage profit or loss that he is making. So clearly, if I talk about, it is given that the market trader buys 100 oranges for $30 and she is selling them for 50 cents each. So if we talk about the cost price of 100 oranges is equal to $30. If we talk about the selling price of 100 oranges, that is equal to 30 multiplied with 50, 100 multiplied with 50, sorry, yeah, 100 multiplied with 50, right? So that is equal to 5,000 cents, which is equal to $50. So clearly what we can observe that the selling price is greater than the cost price, right? So clearly selling price is greater than the cost price. That means there is a profit that is happening, right? So if we need to find out that what is the profit here, so profit is going to be equal to the selling price minus the cost price, which is going to be 50 minus 30, that is equal to $20. So that is a profit that is happening. Further, if we need to find out that what is the profit percent, so here profit percent would be the whatever the amount profit which is there, which is $20 over the cost price, which is $30 multiplied with 100. That is the profit percent we are going to get here. So let's do this calculation. What are we getting here? So the profit that is happening here is 200 over 3, which we can write as 66.67%. Clear? Yes? Further, let's move to the next question now. So next question is a previous year question from the paper of May-June 24 from the variant 4.2. A shop buys bottles of the fruit drink for $3.20 each. It sells them at a profit of 15%. Calculate the selling price of it. So if we talk about the selling price of each bottle, in that case, that is going to be whatever the cost price was there plus the 15% of it, right? Because 15% is the profit that the shopkeeper has made. So clearly if I talk about, that is going to be the cost price plus 15% of the cost price. This clearly means that the price, if the initial price was 100%, it has gone to 115% now. So which can be written as 115% of the cost price, right? So this is going to be 115 over 100 multiplied with whatever the cost price is there, which is $3.20. So let's use the calculator in order to get this value. So if we talk about the selling price that we are getting here is equal to $3.68. Is that clear? Understood? Now moving forward to the next important topic from where you get maximum questions in your paper, which is interest. So the question can be on simple interest or it can be on compound interest, but yes, almost in every paper you will get a question related to interest. So here if we talk about the firstly understanding that what does interest refers to. So interest refers to the payment made on borrowed money or the earnings received on money lent, right? So whenever if it refers to the payment made on the borrowed money, let's say that you have borrowed $1,000 from someone, right? In that case, when you need to return that money, you will be paying something extra. That extra amount is known as the interest, okay? Or if we talk about or the earnings received on money lent. Let's say that you have lent some $1,000. In that case, the person is giving you in return maybe $1,100. So that $100 which is there, that is the interest that you have received or you have earned. Further, the borrowed or the lent money is termed as principal. The sum of the principal and the interest is known as the amount. So let me just write that principal is referred as P, amount is referred as A. So what is amount? Amount is whatever the amount that you have borrowed, which is the principal, the sum, plus the interest that you're being charged with. Okay, so that is what we could get as the amount. Further, the rate at which the interest is applied is known as, to the principal is called the rate of interest. The duration for which the money is borrowed or lent or deposited is known as the duration or the time here, right? So if I talk about the different representations, it is going to be P is used for principal, A is used for amount, R is used for the rate of interest, while T is used for the time. Okay. So talking about the formula of simple interest, it goes as the principal multiplied with the rate of interest multiplied with time over 100. Okay. Further, so these are the denomination that I have already told you. So let's have a question on this. Find the simple interest paid in the following cases. So all rates of interest given here are annual rates. So we need to find out that what is going to be the simple interest here. So let's solve the first question. We know the formula for finding the simple interest. It is PRT over 100. So here the principal is $300. The rate of interest is 6%. Time is 4 years over 100. That is what we have got here. So if we talk about the simple interest that we are going to get here is $72. Just in case we need to find out that what is the amount to be repaid, In that case, if we need to find out, though it is not being asked in this question, but if in case we need to, then amount is going to be equal to the principal plus the interest. So here the principal is $300 while the interest is $72. So the amount that need to be repaid is going to be $372. Clear? Moving to the next question here. Again, if we need to find out the interest here, right? So interest is going to be same thing, PRT over 100. So that is going to be principal multiplied with the rate of interest multiplied with the time for which the amount is lent over 100. Let's do this calculation. What are we getting here? So after doing this calculation, we are getting this as $420. That is the interest being charged. Okay. Moving to one more question on this, calculate how long it will take for the following amount of interest to be earned at the given rate. So here in this case, what we are being provided with, we know that what is the interest here, we know what is the principal, the amount that is borrowed, and we know the rate of interest, but we need to find out that we are going to get this interest in how much time. Okay, so here using the same formula, we know this thing that interest is equal to P multiplied with R multiplied with T over 100. If in case we need to make T as a subject here, so that is going to be, T is going to be equal to interest multiplied with 100 over P multiplied with R. So let's substitute all the values in the given formula. It is going to 150 multiplied with 100 over 500 multiplied with the rate of interest, which is 6 here. So let's do this calculation. What are we getting here? So we are getting the time as 5 years. Clear? Moving to the next thing here, which is compound interest. So it involves the payment of interest not only on the principal amount but also on the accumulated interest. So if we talk about what happens actually in compound interest, that it involves the payment not only on the principal amount, but let's say that you're taking any loan or you're borrowing any money for a period of 5 years. In the case of simple interest, you are going to have the same interest every year. But here in the case of compound interest, the interest keeps on increasing. Reason being that whatever the amount that is accumulated after the interest of the first year, that will also be counted. Okay. So this compounding process results in the interest growing over time, leading to the exponential growth in the total amount. So whenever you find this word in the questions, right, which you're going to find a lot, is exponential growth. Whenever you are seeing this thing that there is an exponential growth or exponential decline is happening, in that case, we need to go ahead with the formula for compound interest. Okay. So this compounding process results in the interest growing over time, leading to exponential growth. It is going to grow exponentially. Okay. Further, if we talk about the formula for finding the interest here, it goes as P multiplied 1 plus R over 100 raised to the power n minus P. So the denominations are going to be same. P is the amount borrowed, right? I is going to represent the interest here. R is the rate of interest and n is the number of years. Okay, so these are the standard denominations that we are going to use. Let's have a question here, which says using the formula for compound interest or otherwise calculate the following. A shipping company borrows $70 million at 5% per annum compound interest to build a new cruise ship. If it repays the debt after 3 years, how much interest will the company pay? So here if we talk about, we need to find out that as it is mentioned in the question that we need to calculate the compound interest here, right, or it is compounded annually. So here if we need to find out the interest, it is going to be P 1 plus R over 100 raised to the power n minus P. So that is going to be, if we talk about the principal here, that is 70 millions. I'm just writing M here for millions. 1 plus R is 5 over 100 raised to the power 3 minus 70 millions, right? So we can just have 70 million common here. So let's do this calculation. What are we getting here? So this is coming out to be, let's do this calculation. What are we getting here? So this is coming out to be 81.03 million minus 70 million. So if we talk about the interest that is being charged as 11.03 million. So that is the interest being charged for 3 years. Okay. Moving to the next question, which says a woman borrows 1 lakh dollars for home improvements. The compound interest rate is 15% per annum and she repays it full after 3 years. How much interest will she pay? So again the same question, we need to find out the interest. So that is going to be the amount that she has borrowed, 1 plus the rate of interest over 100 raised to the power 3 minus the principal amount. So let's do this calculation. We are getting this as 115 over 100, the cube of it, 23, the cube of 23 it is going to be. So we are, after doing the calculation, we are getting it as so if we talk about the interest that she is going to pay is $52,087.50. Okay, clear? Moving to the next question, which is a good question, interesting question, I would say. How many years will it take for a debit to double at 15% per annum compound interest? So now we need to understand this question, that how the values are provided to us. Here the question says that the amount needs to get double, right? Whatever the amount that you have lent, it needs to get double now. So here if I talk about simply we need to find out in how much time it is going to be double. So simply if we talk about, let amount borrowed equal to P, right? In that case, if we talk about the final amount that it needs to be, amount to be repaid, is going to be the double of it, which is 2P, right? So let's put these values in the formula, which goes as 2P will be equal to principal 1 plus the rate of interest over 100 multiply raised to the power n, and we need to find out the value of n here. So we are just going to divide with P on both the sides. So we will be getting it as 2 is equal to 115 over 100 raised to the power n. Further, we can also write this as 2 is equal to 23 over 20 raised to the power n. Now we need to find out the value of n. How are we going to do it? So in this case, we are going to use the log. Okay. So now taking log on both the sides. So it is going to be log 2 will be equal to n log 23 over 20, which is nothing but 1.15 here. So if we need to find out n, that is going to be log 2 over log 1.15. So let's do this calculation. So after using the tables, after doing the calculation, it is coming out to be 4.9595, which is approximately equal to 5 years. So in 5 years, this amount is going to get double at 15% rate of interest. Clear? Moving to the next question, the question here says a couple borrows a certain amount to buy a house at 5% compound interest for 3 years. How much will they owe at the end of the 3 years? So now we need to find out that what is going to be the amount that they are going to owe after 3 years. So simply we are going to use the formula here. So amount is going to be equal to 140,000 1 plus the rate of interest over 100 raised to the power 3. So let's do the calculation here. So this is 1/4. Let's use the calculator. What are we getting as the answer? So after doing the calculation, we are getting it as 0.50. That is the amount that they need to repay, or that is the amount they are going to owe after 3 years. Clear? Moving to the next question here, which says Prince Charming invests $3,000 for 5 years at the rate of 4% per annum simple interest. we need to find out the total interest he will receive. So here it is a case of simple interest. So we are going to use the formula principal in multiplied with rate multiplied with time over 100. So that is going to be 3000 multiplied the rate of interest multiplied with the time over 100, right? So let's do the calculation. 20 multiplied with 3 is going to be 60. So we are going to get it as $600. Clear? Now moving to the next question. So that is the interest that he is going to receive. Amir invests $1,500 in an account. The account pays compound interest at the rate of R% per year. At the end of 8 years, the value of his investment is 1656.73. Find the value of R here. So this is a previous year question from the paper of May-June 24 from the variant 2-1. So Amir is investing $1,500 in an account. The account pays compound interest at the rate of R% per year. At the end, the value of the investment becomes 1656.73. So going to use the same formula. The good thing in compound interest is you just have one formula to be used. Okay. So that is equal to the principal 1 plus R over 100 raised to the power n, which is 8 years here. Correct. So let's do the calculation. What are we going to get here? So after dividing this, we are getting this as so now we need to take the 8th root of it. Okay. So in order to take the 8th root, what we are going to do here is let's take the 8th root of it. Right. So after doing the calculation, we will be getting the value of R here as 1.25%. So that is going to be the rate here. Clear? Moving to the next question, which is again a previous year question from the paper of May-June 24 from the variant 2-2. The question here goes as Kai invests $5,000 in an account paying simple interest at the rate of R% per year. At the end of 8 years, the value of his investment is $5,700. Find the value of R. So firstly, we need to find out that what is the interest that he is going to get. So it is the amount minus the principal. So that means the interest that she has got is $700. Now we need to find out the rate of interest. So clearly, if we are going to make R as a subject, it is going to be the interest multiplied with 100 over principal multiplied with the time. So here the interest is 700 multiplied with 100 over the principal, which is 5,000 multiplied with the time, which is 8 years. So let's do this calculation. What are we going to get here? So after doing the calculation, we are getting this as 14 over 8, which is coming out to be 1.75%. Clear? Now, moving to the next question, which is again a previous year question from the paper of May-June 24 from the variant 3-2. The question here says the owners of the land buy new equipment for the playground. They borrow $8,500 for 4 years at the rate of 6.5% per year compound interest. Calculate the amount they repay at the end of 4 years. Give your answer to the correct to the nearest dollar. So here if we need to find out the amount, that is equal to the principal, which is 8,500, 1 plus the rate of interest, which is 6.5% over 100 raised to the power the number of years, which is 4 here. Right, so let's do this calculation. What are we getting here? Let's use a calculator. So after doing this calculation, we are getting it as $10934.96. That is the amount they need to repay at the end of 4 years. Okay. Moving to the next question, which is a question from the paper of May-June 24 from the variant 4-3. The population of a village is 2,500. The population is decreasing exponentially. So, focusing on the question here, the question says decreasing exponentially. It isn't mentioned in the question anywhere that we need to use the formula for compound interest. But yes, if we are getting the word exponentially decreasing or increasing, we will be using the formula that we have just now learned. Okay. Now, the population is decreasing exponentially at the rate of 3% per year. Okay, calculate the population at the end of 3 years. We need to find out that what is going to be the population at the end of 3 years, and then find the number of complete years it takes for the population to first fall below 2000, right? So let's just have the first question here, which says we need to find the population at the end of 3 years. So that is going to be, we are going to use the same formula. So initially the population is 2500, 1 minus, so here as it is decreasing, so we are going to have the rate of interest rate as negative. So we will be taking it as minus 3 over 100 and raised to the power 3. So let's do the calculation. What are we getting here? So it is 97 over 100 cube, which is coming at as 2281.6, which is approximately equal to 2282. Okay, so you can get it as 22808182. All the answers are accepted in this. Okay, now moving to the second subpart of the question, which says find the number of complete years it takes for the population to first fall below 2000. Okay, so clearly we know this thing, that the population is decreasing at the rate of 3% per year. So after a certain number of years, it is going to come down to 2000. So now we need to find out that when it is going to first fall just below 2000. So firstly, let's just find out that what is going to be the benchmark here. What is going to be a threshold? So in that case, we will be taking the final value as 2000. Okay, which is going to be equal to 2500, 1 minus the rate of interest 3 over 100 raised to the power n. So we need to find out the value of n here. So here it is going to be 4 over 5 is equal to 97 over 100 raised to the power n. Yes, so again we are going to use a log here. So that is going to be, so if we are just going to take log on both the sides, so it is going to be log 0.8 is equal to n log 0.97. Right, so if we are going to find out the value of n here, right, so what we'll be able to observe this thing, that n is approximately close to 3. Okay, so in that case n needs to be greater than 3. That means after 3 it is going to be like this, that after 3 years we'll observe this thing, that the population falls below 2000. Just a second. So here it needs to be n, where we are going to get the value of n here as it needs to be greater than 8 in order to have the population going just below 2000. Clear? Moving to the next question now, which says Philip invests $4,000 for 3 years at the rate of 2.5% per year. Simple interest. We need to find out the value of his investment after 3 years. Right, so if we need to find out the amount, which is going to be principal plus the interest. So here the principal is $4,000 plus the interest is going to be 4,000 multiplied with 3 multiplied with 2.5 over 100. So if we need to find out the value of the investment, that is going to be 4,000 plus 300. So that means the value of his investment is going to be $4,300. Clear? Now, moving to the next question, which is again a previous year question from the paper of October-November 23 from the variant 1-3. Shubhu invests $750 in a saving account for 5 years. The account pays simple interest at the rate of 1.8% per year. Calculate the total interest she earns during the 5 years. So, in that case, we just need to find out the interest, which is going to be the principal multiplied with the rate of interest multiplied with the time over 100. So, right, let's do the calculation. What are we getting here? So, it is coming out to be $67.5. That is going to be the total interest she is going to earn. Clear? Moving to one more question here from the paper of October-November 23 from the variant 2-1. At the end of 2021, there were 27,000 rhinos living in the wild. The number of rhinos is expected to decrease exponentially by 3% each year. Work out the number of rhinos expected to be living in the wild 4 years later. So give your answer correct to the nearest whole number. So we need to find out, as it is given here, that the number of rhinos are decreasing exponentially at the rate of 3% per year. So clearly we are going to use the formula for compound interest here. So in that case, if we talk about, we need to find out the final number. what is going to be the number after 4 years? So that is going to be, so the initial number is 27,000. 1. So as it is decreasing, it is going to be 1 minus 3 over 100 raised to the power 4. Let's do this calculation. We are getting it as 27,000 multiplied with 97 over 100 raised to the power 4. So let's do the calculation. We are getting it as 23903. That is going to be the number of rhinos at the end of 4 years. Moving to the next important topic for the session, that is time. So here the clock dial shows you the time from 1 to 12, that is from AM and PM times. The inner dial shows what the time after 12 PM are in the 24-hour system. Okay, so this is how we measure the time. Now moving further, whenever we need to read the timetable, most timetables are written using the 24-hour clock, right? Example, if we need to write 9 AM, it is written as 0900. If we need to write 33:30 PM, it is written as 15:30, right? Further, if we talk about a journey to work takes a woman 3/4 of an hour. If she catches the bus at 7:55, when does she arrive? So if we talk about the 3/4 of an hour, if we talk about 1 hour is equal to 60 minutes. So if we talk about 3/4 of an hour is equal to 45 minutes. So when she is going to catch the bus at 7:55, when she will arrive? So woman will arrive at 0755 plus 45 minutes. That is when she is going to arrive. So if we are just going to do the calculation here, let me just add the time on this side. We are going to add 45 to it. So clearly 5 plus 5 is going to give you a 0. 1 is going to be the carry here. So 1 plus 5 is 6. 6 plus 4 is 10. But we know this thing that we cannot write it as 10 here. We can have whenever the minute goes above 60 or whenever it reaches 60, we are going to reduce the minutes with 60, right? So here if I talk about, that is going to be equal to 100 minutes can be written as 1 hour and 40 minutes, right? So here what we are going to do, we will be writing 4 and 1 hour will be carried forward. Okay, so that means the time when she is going to reach here is 0840. Clear? Moving to one more question on this. The same woman catches a bus home each evening. The journey takes 55 minutes. If she catches the bus at 17:50, when does she arrive? So when she is catching the bus at 17:50 and taking 55 minutes, we need to add them, right? So again, if we talk of 5 plus 5 is 10, right? But if we talk about the minutes, we cannot have 105 minutes. In that case, we are going to take it as 1 hour and 45 minutes. So this is going to be 45 and 1 hour is taken to the 1 hour is added in the hour side. So that is going to be 1845. That is the time when she is going to reach. Moving to the next question. A boy cycles to school each day. His journey takes 70 minutes. When will he arrive if he leaves home at 7:15? So if I talk about 70 minutes, 70 minutes is nothing but 1 hour and 10 minutes. So let's add this time. 0715 is added to 0110. So if we talk about the time when he is going to reach is 8:25. That is the time when he is going to reach. Clear? Moving to the next question here, which says a train covers a 1500 kilometer distance from Amsterdam to Barcelona at an average speed of 90 kilometer per hour. Okay, so the distance is given as 1500 kilometer and the speed is 90 kilometer per hour. If the train leaves Amsterdam at 9:30 AM on Tuesday, when does it arrive in Barcelona? So here, firstly, we need to find out that what is the time taken by train, right? So if we need to find out the time taken by train, it is going to be the distance over speed. So that is equal to 1500 over 90. Clear? So here if we need to find out that what is the time that the train has taken. So the train is taking 50 over 3. So that is going to be 16.2 over 3 hours. So 16.2 over 3 hours, if we talk about, that is equal to nothing but 16 hours and 40 minutes. That is the time taken by the train. So now if we need to find out the train leaves Amsterdam at 9:30 a.m. on Tuesday, when does it arrive in Barcelona? So in that case, if we talk here, then from 9:30 a.m. to 9:30 p.m. we are going to have is 12 hours, correct? So clearly then we will be left with, so let's just split the time here, 9:30 a.m. to 9:30 p.m. we'll have is 12 hours, correct? Now we are left with 4 hours and 40 minutes, right? So now let's add to 9:30, let's just add 4 hours and 40 minutes. Let's add them here. So what it is going to be? 30 plus 40 is going to give you 1 hour and 10 minutes. Right? So 1 hour will be carried forward. So it is going to be 9 plus 1 is 10, 10 plus 4 is 14, right? But here if I talk about the time, it goes till 12 only, 12 a.m. So if we talk about the time when they are going to reach is, because we are getting the time here as 14, right? So which is going to be nothing but 12 plus 2. So that means if we talk about the time here, it is going to be 0 to 10 a.m. This is the time when the train will reach Barcelona. Okay. Moving to the next question, which is a previous year question from the paper of October-November 23 from the variant 1-3. A film lasts for 155 minutes. Write 155 in hours and minutes. So clearly if I talk about this 155 minutes can be written as 120 minutes plus 35 minutes. Correct? So this is going to be equal to 2 hours and 35 minutes. Clear? Moving to the second subpart of the question, another film starts at 14:45 and lasts for 2 hours and 20 minutes. Work out the time when the film finishes. So that is going to be 14:45 and we are going to add 2 hours and 20 minutes to it. So it is going to be 5 and 45 plus 20 is 65. So that is, we are going to take 60 minutes to the hour side. So we will be left with 5 minutes here and 1 hour will be added. So this is going to be 1705. So the film is going to end at 1705. Okay. Moving to one more question, which is from the paper of May-June 24 from the variant 3-1. Trevor is paid $11.50 per hour for the time he works before 1800. He is paid 30% more for the time he works after 1800. Work out how much Trevor is paid each week. So now we need to find out that what is the amount Trevor is going to receive. So firstly, let's just split the timing into two parts, that when he is working before 1800 or when he is working after 1800, right? So clear, firstly let's just write the number of hours for which he is working. So here if I talk about, he is working for 4 hours, here he is working for 4 hours. Rest of the time if we talk about, then they are before 1800, right? So let me just mention those time as well. So here he is working for 5 hours and 30 minutes. Again here also on Saturday he is working for 5 hours and 30 minutes. On Sunday he is working for 5 hours. That is the duration for which he is working. Now let's find out the amount that he will be paid with. So if I talk about the time when he is working before 6 p.m. I would say, then that is 16 hours. So amount paid for working before 1800 is going to be equal to the number of hours for which he is working is 16 here. 16 multiplied with 11.50. So let's calculate what are we getting here. So that means he is being paid with $184. Further, if I talk about, he is working for 8 hours after 6 p.m. So here if we need to find out the amount he is being paid per hour, paid for working after 1800 will be actually equal to the amount that he is, the number of hours for which he is working, which are 8 hours here, multiplied with the 130% of 130% of 11.50, right? So I'm just doing the calculation here so that it is visible to you, right? Let's do the calculation. So after doing this entire calculation, I'm just erasing this particular part so that it is visible to you. So it is equal to $119.6. That is the amount he is getting for working after 1800, right? So further, if we need to find out that what is the total amount, so just writing the total here. So the total is going to be just adding both the values, 184 plus 119.6. So we are getting the total amount as $303.6. Clear? Moving to the next question now. Here the question says, here is a part of the timetable for trains from Hinton to Jarmouth. All trains take the same time to travel between the two places. We need to complete the timetable. So this is again a previous year question from the paper of May-June 24 from the variant 3.1. So here if we need to find out that what is the time taken by the train to travel between the two stations here, let's firstly calculate that what is the time taken. So here if I talk about the time taken is equal to 28 minutes, right? So in that case, if we talk about the train must have left Hinton 28 minutes earlier. So in that we are just going to do 1235 minus 28 minutes. So which is coming out to be, let's write the answer, 1207. So we have completed the timetable. Now March arrives at Hinton station exactly 20 minutes before 10:47. So if we talk about the time 20 minutes before 10:47, it is going to be 10:27, right? We need to complete this thing in the diagram here. So if we need to make, so this is how we are going to mark this time. Clear? Okay. Moving to the B subpart, each day a bus leaves Texford to travel to Cranbrook every 45 minutes. The first bus leaves Texford at 7:10 while the last bus leaves Texford at 22:10. Work out the number of buses that travel from Texford to Cranbrook each day. So firstly, if we now talk about the total duration for which the buses are running, duration is going to be 2210 minus 0710. So that means if we just do the calculation, we can see this thing that the buses are working for 15 hours, correct? Now if one bus takes, if every bus leaves, like the bus leaves every 45 minutes, right? So in that case, if we need to find out the number of buses, so that is going to be, okay, firstly let's write 1500 into minutes. It is going to be an easier job for us to do, right? So that is going to be 1200 minutes. No, it's not 1200 minutes. 900 minutes, right? So in order to find out, it is going to be 900 minutes over 45 minutes. So we are going to get it as that there will be 20 buses which will be leaving the particular station, like when the buses are leaving every 45 minutes between 7:10 to 22:10. Moving to the next question here, which is again a previous year question from the paper of February-March 24 from the variant 1.1. A night bus runs from 21:50 to 5:18 the next day. Work out the number of hours and minutes that the night bus runs. So here if we need to find out, let's just make it easy and count it and in the whole time, right? So it is, if it is 21:50 to 22:00, the time is 10 minutes. If we talk about from 22:00 to 00:00, right, it is 2 hours. And then from 00:00 to 0518, it is going to be 5 hours and 18 minutes. So let's add up all these time here, right? So that is going to be equal to 7 hours and 28 minutes. Clear? I hope that we have understood the question. Moving to the next question, which is from the paper of October-November 23 from the variant 1-3. Tara goes on a journey by train. The train leaves at 6:48. The journey takes 12 hours and 35 minutes. Find the time when Tara arrives. So we're simply going to add both the time here. So here if we are going to simply add 48 and 35, 8 plus 5, 3, carry over 1. So we are getting it as 83 minutes. So 83 minutes we are going to write as 1 hour and 23 minutes. Correct? And further we are just going to write it as 9 and the train is going to leave at, Tara will arrive at 19:23. Is that clear? I hope that we have understood all the questions that we have discussed. So that's all that we had to do for this session. Thank you so much everybody for joining in. I'll be meeting you in the next session where we will be discussing some more topics, some more previous year questions. So thank you so much everybody for joining. Stay connected.